Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out Rules Horror. Story 1. Rules for Exercising Running. A place to share scary stories which contain a set of rules to follow. I've always been a little overweight. It always bugged me, and looking at myself in the mirror I didn't like who stared back, their plump face looking almost disappointed in me. Today I walked past the bathroom mirror and saw the same chubby face staring back at me, almost accusingly. I'd had enough. I wanted to do better, for me and for my family. So I decided to take up running. I looked up a couple of guides for running online, seeing if there was any techniques or tips from helpful veterans of the sport. And a fair way down the second page of Google was a Reddit post for a community simply called New to Running. I clicked onto the community and saw that a mod had pinned a post called Please Read. For all our newbies, a helpful guide to get you sprinting to success. So you want to start running, for one reason or another. A good skill to have, I must say. Please follow these rules, as your life depends on it. If you use a running program, please ensure that you have the correct one. For example, I use running.com 1527252437352252/training program. The long string of numbers is quite annoying to input every time, but fake sites are everywhere. One wrong letter or number will either lead you to a site not found, error 254 if you're lucky, or a fake site. 1A fake sites are particularly awful because apart from having the wrong training program, which will not only make your progress go backwards, they may even give you harmful tips, they also allow anyone to track your location. And trust me, you don't want that. 2. Before even leaving your house, please consider buying a treadmill. Even though they are ridiculously expensive, and for good reason, everyone with half a brain and $10,000 to spare will have one. You'll see later on. Treadmills circumvent most risks associated with running outside, although they do have their own risks. They are far safer than any outside exercise though, and so we highly recommend them. Our mod team will shortly have a guide out for treadmills for all of you lucky enough to own one. 3. Make sure you have an easy way back into your house/apartment that is easily concealed and accessible. You may only have seconds to dive back into the safety of your home before whatever it is chasing you catches up. And we ask that this entrance is not easily found because you don't want to come home to your apartment robbed. 4. Run around your block, or an area you know well. If you really want a change of scenery, please plot out your route in advance. If you are going to attempt this, please also ensure that you are an advanced runner and can maintain a sprint for up to 5 minutes, or 10 minutes, if you haven't followed our advice to stay on your block. Otherwise, stick to your block. 4. Running around your block allows you to know the terrain well. Sometimes, knowing the terrain well is the difference between life and death. Watch out for anything that does not look the same as it did on your previous lap and keep on high alert at all times. 4. If construction workers suddenly appear and seem to have been working on a house you just passed or have passed on a previous lap like they have been there all along, when in fact, they only just appeared, please run home as fast as you can. I don't care how tired you are, you need to run like you have just come fresh out of a 8-hour nap. Do not run past the construction workers to get back to your house. Avoid them at all costs. In fact, we recommend not running at all while construction workers are near your planned route within a 3-block radius. There is no way to tell apart normal construction workers from fake ones. 5. Try to run at night. The things have about the same amount of vision as you do at night, and the darkness will afford you some protection. But I mean, if you prefer to get a head start on them when they charge at you or simply can't fit a night run into your schedule, then daylight should be fine. Just never run at twilight or dawn, as you will have neither advantage of being able to see them when they start to chase you or be reasonably hidden by the darkness of night. 6. You need to keep an eye out for these 3 cars, which are detailed below. 6A. A black Ford Territory. If this car drives by you, please be very wary. It is not something to immediately cancel your run for, but it means that you should be on the lookout for abnormalities even more than usual. These abnormalities will be harder to catch and more subtle. E.g. birds' warbles sound just the tiniest bit off. That's your cue. Head home. Do not show any signs you've realized something's off or you'll clue them in and you'll have a much harder time escaping. 6. Be a blue sedan that slows down in any way to match your pace. You've got a serious problem now. They will wind down the window and just watch you. They will have sunglasses on and their face will be unlike any human you have ever seen. If they lift up the sunglasses, don't look them in the eyes. Horrible things await those who do. Throw the nearest object you think will buy you time at the car, aiming at the lowered window and run. E.g. I threw someone's hard rubbish at the window which bought me the time I needed, and I owe that person my life. And $5 for their crappy bike they were throwing out. 6. See a grey BMW stops near you and the driver gets out. The driver will claim to be your Uber, here to pick you up, but this is not true. Do not enter the car and immediately run in the opposite direction. We have never heard again from anyone that entered the car. The driver shouldn't follow you, unless you interact with them. If you interact with them, e.g. acknowledge them in any way other than running away, talk to them, make eye contact, you get it, they will follow you along on the rest of your run, occasionally reminding you that they're here to pick you up. They will draw attention to you, and not the good kind. The more you interact with them, the more likely they are to stay after you finish your run and are home. If you are in this situation, you're in a conundrum. Letting the driver know where you live is very dangerous and they have a lot of contacts they can spread this information to. Believe me, you don't want a visit from either the driver or any of their friends. You could try to run to a loved one's house, but you would be more susceptible to other normal dangers like the abnormalities. So, up to you. Edit. We have recently had a few members of this subreddit inform us that this driver can mimic loved ones, voices and appearances. We are very lucky to have heard from them and that they survived. Please watch out for this as well. 7. If you keep dropping your keys, or anything in your pockets or seem to be tripping a lot, they are trying to distract you. Keep your wits about you and try to hold everything that you don't want to lose or potentially leave behind in your hands. 8. Follow your training program to the second. It tells you to walk, you walk. It tells you to run, you run, and you don't stop even if you feel like you'll die of exhaustion. Remember, the training program was made to help you get as good as possible, as fast as possible, so you have the best chance of surviving future runs. They'll know if you stop early or walk for too long. We will update you if we find anything else, or find any techniques or tips to help you stay as safe as possible. Good luck everyone and good running. Rules for exercising, treadmill guide for operation. Rules for exercising, swimming. Rules for exercising, walking part 1. Story 2. Rules to survive a cliche. A place to share scary stories which contain a set of rules to follow. The almost comforting mechanical whirring of the engine grinds to a halt, as the heaving clump of metal which I call a car parks haphazardly in between two parking lots, right outside my friend's house. I rest my hand on the handle before pulling down hard. This was it, my first sleepover. With my friend, at least. The door creaks as it opens and I hop out of the damp space, relieved to smell the evening air. Before I get too distracted, I walked on the gravel path leading to the door, making sure to lock the car. When I turned round, there was an A4 sheet of paper nailed to the door, slightly wet around the corners, but other than that, it was in perfect condition. Focusing in on it, I could make out words, sentences, a full list of rules. The first rule was simple: just don't knock too much or too little, else an evil monster will eat your face. It was rules like the first, simple to follow and easy to understand, that is until I read the fourth rule. 4. You can spake tro motor. Oh no, my sister warned me about this scenario, gave me a list of rules, can't completely remember them yet. For context, the next rule said something about not speaking to mother, else an evil monster will eat your face, again. I do remember one rule: it was Rule 1, once you see the fake, you're most likely trapped. The best thing to do is to enter and stay in the car, because you're being hunted, take the paper too. Deciding that I still wanted to have the sleepover, I ripped the sheet of paper off the nail, for storage, then read it again before stuffing it in my loose pockets. When I reread it, the fake rule was missing, which is strange. The whole thing was written in ink, a rule can't just disappear. I'm sure there's a rule for this, but I can't remember, I guess I just wasn't listening at the time. Anyways, I knocked the door 7 times, and a tall, hunched man stood in an infinitely long basement of sorts, beckoning me in. I won't describe the mystery man, but my instinct and sleepover rule 2, led me to slamming the door in its face, before trying again in 5 minutes. This time, my friend stood in the infinitely tall hallway. This was never part of the sleepover rules, in fact, Rule 2 described a tall, pale woman, not a man. I was completely on my own, with my instincts. At this point, the sleepover isn't even worth having, and the rules might as well get discarded. If my friend is still alive, I will text them tomorrow with this little story. For now, I had to slam the door and run, and slam I did. I ran to the car, pulling on the door handle. It was locked. Turning around to see if the thing would break out, I spotted my car keys covered almost completely in dirt. That is when I remembered it at the worst time. Rule 4, never go back for personal items, no matter what. 4 out of 10 people that do this are never found. However, I was out of options there, so I ran quickly back to the keys, quickly snatching the keys and fumbling around with the car door handle. I turned the key one way, but the door didn't budge. I tried the other way, and the little bump signified that the door has unlocked. With all new urgency, I threw the door open and flung myself inside, making sure to close and lock the car door. The inside of the cramped space somehow gave off a suspiciously calming feeling, something no other thing at any other time could achieve, until I looked at the window, air condensing on the outside, a soft breeze running throughout. That is when I remembered the 6th rule, if the windows fog up, then you've stayed in the same place too long. Always keep moving, find a shelter if possible. With the intent to get the hell out, before something eats me, I jammed the keys into the ignition and sped off. Then I drove all the way to my house. That part's a blur, but something chased me, took a wrong turn, and arrived. I knocked on the door, not long before I stumbled inside and face planted on the couch, before falling asleep. When I woke up, I found my sister standing tall next to me. You put us all in danger, never do that again, she shouted before giving me a sheet of rules, which looked like they were printed a few minutes ago, and my phone. Here's a rough transcription that I wrote. Rule 1, once you see the fake, you're most likely trapped. The best thing to do is to enter and stay in the car, because you're being hunted, take the paper too. Rule 2, never follow any rules from the rule sheet, this is why you take it with you. It's to lure you know what not to do. Rule 3, never drive to anywhere where you care about, they will remember you. Everywhere they visit gets their rules. Rule 4, never go back for personal items, no matter what. 9 out of 10 people do not recommend it, 1 out of 10 people were never found. Rule 5, if you get caught, then either run, or fight. You may need to fight multiple of them for prolonged amounts of time. Asterisk Rule 6, if the windows fog up, then you've stayed in the same place too long. Always keep moving, find a shelter if possible. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.